Welcome to the What's Already podcast, where we fashion ourselves television judge and jury. Today, we are live. It's been a while since we've been live, so yeah, I'm pretty excited. We're on Facebook and YouTube live, so we're gonna have some fun with that. We're also talking about Obi-Wan, episode 1 and 2. It was a
Tickle
good,
me pink, JJ, to steal a line from you.
I was too, and it was a late night. It was a late night.
JJ and I were texting. He was up till like 2:30 a.m. Thankfully, I'm on Pacific time, so not as late. But JJ was getting teary-eyed, feeling emotional. I don't think I was close to that level, but I was surely happy to be watching Star Wars.
Dude, I didn't even get through the intro. So first, before we jump in, spoilers are coming. So if you're joining this after the live, just know that there are spoilers. If you're watching the live, you go to watch live. We've got a spoiler warning up on the post. So keep that in mind. But I didn't even make it through the recap. So like they have this recap that goes through the first 3 episodes, like right, episode 1, 2, 3. I'm texting Matson going, dude, I'm getting all blurry-eyed, misty-eyed for watching just the recap. Like just knowing that we're continuing.
You were my brother, Anakin. They said it like in the echoey voice. Good. You're just like, oh.
Yeah. Rips your guts out. Like, but yeah, it was, I was really so excited. And there was no way I wasn't staying up to watch that. And I did. Yeah. 2:30 in the morning. It was so rough the next day.
Yeah. JJ, how was work the next day?
Dude, it was rough. I was sitting at work and I had to go into the office. So I was like there. A couple of my colleagues were like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, I am too old for what I did last night. Like, I don't do. Yeah, when I was younger, man, that 2:33 in the morning was easy and get up, go to work the next day. But 41, that doesn't work as well as it used to. I was a little hurt, but I made it through, and I was excited. And I even found time after work before I started another show we're gonna review later. I watched them again. Because it's me and it's Star Wars.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I watched them the next morning, and then I got to work and I heard a rumor that they actually dropped at 9 p.m. Pacific time. Did you guys hear that?
No.
And my boss said he watched it early. He watched it at 9 p.m.
Oh,
I was like, well, thanks for the heads up, bro.
I didn't even check until midnight because JJ told me.
I didn't either.
I didn't think about it.
That's what they said. It would be.
That's what they said, and he's like, I didn't have to stay up. I was in bed by 11:30.
Oh,
best.
That wrecks my soul. I wish you'd have never told me that. Like,
well, that's exactly why I told you that.
I know. Now I'm gonna be paranoid, and I'm gonna check every Wednesday night. It's rough. So I kind of want to hear your thoughts. My thoughts on Star Wars content are almost always going to be biased because I don't care how good, bad, or indifferent it is. It's Star Wars content, so I love it. I kind of want to hear your guys' thoughts. Let's start with episode 1, where we just get to see kind of that pattern about Obi-Wan and where he's at. And what did you guys think?
I mean, it was kind of sad, right? Like, not only was he kind of pretty high up in the Jedi Order, and then had to fight his trainee and best friend, and then watch that trainee's best friend's girl die after giving birth to his kids, then take one of those kids to the family and then live on Tatooine of all places for 10 years. Like, that sucks, right? Terrible place to live. I mean, I can now see why he aged from Ewan McGregor into Alec Guinness in 19 years. Like that'd do a number on you. I get it. Yeah. I think they did a great part with that because that's one of the biggest plot holes, right? Like, how did this happen? That right there. Tied a nice pretty bow.
He sandblasted Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, what episode 1 did well was show you the weight of what Obi-Wan's been carrying for 10 plus, just over 10 years at that point, and that hasn't really gotten over it, that it's still affecting him, even in his day-to-day routine, that he's just kind of a hermit at this point. He goes to work, and JJ, I want you to say the phrase I've been waiting for. He's a butcher, and what is he butchering?
Dude, he's butchering like giant sand salmon. Like
that's what it looked like. It had the marbleization, everything. I was like, yeah, that's totally right. And it was just kind of rest and repeat is what I felt like, and it's probably been that way for a long time. And then he goes to kind of stalkerishly watch on Luke and try to play like a father-ish figure from afar. But he doesn't have anyone else or really anything. Doesn't want to stand up for the Jedi code when some of this is going down, when the Inquisitors kind of show up, and just seems really like a shell of himself, like a man that's been defeated and has been carrying that defeat with a heavy chain for a long time. And if that's what they were going for in episode 1 and kind of on basically episode 2 as well, they did well in that regard. But what kind of suffered for me, but I knew this was going to happen, these are definitely setup episodes. Absolutely 100% every shape and form. Was it a little slow at times, especially for episode 1? Absolutely. I mean, they really wanted to hit home. This is what he's doing every day, same day, nothing different. And they got that point across, but at times, like, yeah, I mean, could I have appreciated some more action or moving that along? Sure. But at the same time, did it really show the weight of what he's carrying? Yes. And I don't know if they could have done that in another way.
Yeah, excuse me. Like, I am not a fan, especially lately, of that plot device, right? The whole rinse and repeat. We see them do something and then they do it again, and then they do a piece of it and they show a piece of it. Like, I don't need it more than twice for, like, especially now, because so many shows and movies recently have used that device to like show what they're doing. Like, I just go, I don't need you to do it 17 times. I get it. I'd rather explore his state of mind and his emotional, like, I don't need that to show that he's in a bad place. Like, I get that, right? Like, I was more interested in the sick burn from Owen, even though we saw it in the trailer. You trained his father. It's just this perfect comeback to shut down Obi-Wan in any way, shape, or form about Luke. So it was like, but I want more of that. Like, I would have much preferred more interaction between those two in episode 1. Like, even showing Owen, because he was a different Obi-Wan when he was talking to Owen about Luke, right? He got that little bit of passion back, and he was really, forceful about it, and then Owen shut him down. But like, I wish we would have seen a little more of that. Have them show the weight of Owen saying, no, you're not, stay away from him. Like, stay away from us. We don't want you here. Go away.
That's
and lean in. Go ahead. Sorry, Madison.
I was just
go
gonna
ahead.
say, it's funny you bring that up, JJ, because a lot of these Star Wars shows that have been Mandalorian, Boba Fett, even some of these Marvel movies that Disney Plus is doing, I do think there's fatigue for me of knowing I'm gonna be excited. I'm really gonna like these mini series or TV shows, but I've got to get through the first 3 or 4 to really hit exactly what they are trying to show me, where everything culminates together. And I am getting fatigue from that. Like, at some point I'm like, maybe they should just have a show where episode 1 just comes out with a bang, and then they do the whole backtrack from that moment and how we built into that, and layer things in that way. But I'm getting a little tired.
Yeah. I will say that I was more pleasantly surprised with the Grand Inquisitor than I thought I was going to be. Yeah, I thought they did a really good job with him. That little speech that you get part of in the trailer, but then you see the full thing in that cantina, that little bar where he's talking about the Jedi just can't help themselves. They basically hunt themselves. I will say that the first episode, I struggled a little with and I think it's just a me thing, but the whole combat, I don't want to say combat, but the whole conflict between the Grand Inquisitor and the third sister.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
You're not alone.
Yeah, it felt really forced to me, and it was her, right? Like his malice towards her is like, you're a subordinate, you're less than me. What the hell are you doing? And he played that great.
Mm-hmm.
Hers though, like, and I think this is one place where they could have benefited from. I realize it's Obi-Wan's show, but an opening sequence that shows obviously there's something going on with her and Vader that's led her to be so obsessed with Obi-Wan. Show me that first, because then that whole interaction makes more sense of why she's willing to go against the Grand Inquisitor so hard to find Obi-Wan, and why she's so obsessed, versus it's about power. It's about being the coolest Inquisitor. It just didn't make sense to me.
Coolest.
Yeah, I need to be the coolest. So it bothered me, and it didn't set me up. It didn't set episode 2 up for success much either, because of it just didn't make sense why she was the way she was, and she overacted it so bad that I was like, ugh.
Yeah, that's multiple people I've talked to have said the same thing, where it's not even that we just didn't understand where her rage and passion for that was coming from. It was just, to me, kind of bad acting. It was so forced that it didn't feel genuine and believable, and didn't fit the rest of what the world and characters were portraying. And I really still am skeptical about where that's going.
I have a theory for this because I hated her guts. And I blame it mostly, I think, on Star Wars itself, right? The very first villain we see in Star Wars is Darth Vader. Top notch, right? Like one of the top villains anywhere you're going to see. And then we get him, and really the next main villain that we see is Darth Maul, who's a step below Darth Vader, but still pretty cool. Then you go into like Count Dooku, who's only cool because it's Christopher Lee. But the villains are kind of like, they have this great, pedestal to live up to, and the newer villains, I just don't believe it. But with this one, I kind of wonder, because we get that intro where it's like Order 66 happening at the Jedi Temple, which I'm glad that we're getting to see a little bit more of kind of what happens inside the temple with these newer shows. But we have that group of younglings that just kind of disappears. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if she was one of those younglings, and she's kind of struggling with good and light in the show, so that the reason why she's not believable is she's really trying to be bad.
Mm. That's not a...
And I wonder if that'll pop up later.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of had a similar thought for a second, because I was like, there's a reason they're showing Order 66 and these kids, right? And so I thought, okay, so someone is going to be part of this little group of kids. And you're probably not wrong. It probably is Reva or third sister, depending on how you want to talk about her. But and you can tell that it's personal. It's not just about hunting Obi-Wan. There's something personal. But I really think it would have benefited this show, at least from my perspective, if they'd have led with why it's personal. Introduce us to her, because then for me, it's not just about, I know this is Obi-Wan's show and I want it to be 99.9% Obi-Wan, but a good villain, I have to have some buy-in for that villain. That's why Vader works so well, is you introduce him so early, you technically get introduced to the villain before you get to introduce to any of your main heroes other than Leia, right? So in the original episode 4, I think they could have benefited from their own map, right? Roadmap, and saying, let's introduce third sister, at least make it obvious that one of those kids was her. And then we know something personal is coming. So we know that extreme level of, I need to get Obi-Wan. We know that, right? So I think it could have benefited. So I'm with you there. I was really excited to see Alderaan, guys. Like, that was really cool. Like, to actually see more than it just exploding. Like,
I couldn't stand the capes. The capes that the guards. It looks so like proper, in which, I mean, obviously they're very civilized society, but it's like, those guys aren't stopping any bad guy. They'll be like, let me whip out my gun, but my cape first.
Yeah. No. I will say, one, it was nice to see Bail Organa back. I love that they got him back, and that was cool. And then, but it, and we've seen Alderaan. If you've watched any of the animated series, there's a couple times that you're on Alderaan for a second on the animated, but it was really nice to see it in live action. But yeah, you can tell that they were leaning into this is a very royal place, and I'm wondering when they don't allow weapons thing came about, because there were definitely weapons on that planet. I will say that it was very distracting that Flea was the bad guy on Alderaan that was trying to kidnaps Leia. Like that really, I was like, really, you couldn't get anybody but Flea? Like, come on.
That chase scene was atrocious.
Yeah, it was terrible.
So bad. Like I was texting JJ about this and watching it. The camera angles and just this little, what she's like 10 basically, because it was 10 years since she was born, outrunning these adults and like weaving through these trees before them. It's just not believable in the slightest. Like you're going to catch the child, you're and then like how they got tricked. I was like, what are these, like the dumbest people in the galaxy? Like it was really, it felt weirdly shot. Like it didn't line up for me, and it really did bother me. I was like, this is just not believable. This is sad.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. It was an awkward, because I was like, dude, they're gonna catch her in no time. And I would have been okay if she ran away. And there was like a really cool moment where she slid underneath some tree or whatever. Like, and that was early on. Like I was like, okay, leave that there, and then just have some dude be like, yeah, we're adults and you're 10.
Yeah,
just come on. Let's not pretend that you're going to out. Yeah, I'm with you. And it was later on in the episode too, like when she's running away from Obi-Wan on the weird planet, like he almost, like he's standing next to her. I'm like, dude, just grab a hold of her. Don't like let her run away. Like, what the hell? You're right there. So there were a couple of moments where I was like, okay, I realize you got to drag this out and make it tense, but at least try to make it a little more believable. Yeah. So didn't work for me.
Did anyone, what did everyone think of young Leia as an actor? Like for me, man, I liked her, but she grew on me a little bit later, but man, at the beginning, just was a very good of an actor. I had issues with it. I didn't think she was that good.
Really, I know it's my bias, but I had no problem with her whatsoever. Like I know for me it was like, oh, Leia's on screen again. This is cool, and she's feisty and she's funny. But yeah, I didn't have a problem with her.
I think she did a great job for portraying what young Leia was like, but I would have knocked her out, just decked her. She drove me nuts. But I think she did a fantastic job portraying the individual that she should have been, because it wasn't a far leap from this 10-year-old to the 19-year-old on, the beginning of episode 4, who's like smart mouthing Vader. Not a ginormous leap for me. I could see 10-year-old Leia smart mouthing Vader after seeing that. So I think she did.
It felt too forced. Like they're I don't know, kind of robotic for me, and not as endearing as I've seen other child actors that just have a lot more depth to them.
Yeah, and I think it suffered because of the way that they made her OP, for lack of a better term. The fact that she ran away so easily. Like, I liked the subtle hints that she can read people very well using the Force, like whether she realizes it or not. Like, she can intuit what people are feeling and kind of who they are. I like that, and I think that's what they should have left it as. Like, leave her out of this running away. I think if they'd have just made her a normal kid that she caught, I think I would have been less bothered by some of the forced acting, because I was so distracted by the fact that, okay, look, it's Leia, I get it, but she's still 10 years old. She's not going to run away from a bunch of grown-ass adults that easily. And so I think that really distracted me from her acting. But overall, like, I didn't have too much of a problem. But again, that could definitely be my rose-colored glasses because I'm watching Star Wars.
She was a lot better in episode 2 when there was other things happening. But when the spotlight was kind of solely on her, like, to me, I didn't think she carried her scenes very well.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Did anybody catch Alec? I have to ask. I sent Mattson a picture at like 2 in the morning.
This, JJ.
Come on. Did you catch Mark Hamill's sneaky appearance like 5 times?
No, I did not catch Mark Hamill's sneaky
Son
appearance
of a
5
bitch.
times. Why would I catch that, JJ? I was
I don't
trying to
know.
remember everybody's name. I was trying to figure out where in the timeline we were, like a normal person would when watching this show. Not
I
where is
know.
they gonna sneak in Mark Hamill?
I know. I just see weird shit like that. I can't help myself.
JJ, it wasn't even that you saw it, like your like spidey senses for Star Wars. It's Mark Hamill. I'm gonna blow something in my like. You just like I mean, the fact that you probably rewound and went to snap it, the picture, like oh my god.
Oh yeah, I did too because I was like, so I see him immediately. I was like, oh shit, that's Mark Hamill right there in the background, and then I immediately text Mattson and I'm like, did you catch Mark Hamill? And he's like, no. And so I was like, okay, I gotta rewind it. He's like, where was he? So I rewound it and sent him a picture. He's like, why would I see that? Pretty much
like I don't even know. I still don't even know what scene I need to go back to even see him in.
Yeah, it's when he first gets to the Rouvet, the weird city.
Is Star Wars bringing time travel into this? Because that's Luke Skywalker and he's 10 years old right now.
Just so you know, the reason it is because Mark Hamill has been in every single show that they've made in some way, shape, or form. So like in The Mandalorian, I think in season 2, or there was a moment where like the Mandalorian's talking to some dude that's looking through this hole in the ship where he's in this compartment and he says he's got like a big Liku's hanging off his head and he's like orange colored. Mark Hamill was that guy. So he's been in the show, every show they've made, at least one episode. And he walks through the screen like 4 times in episode 2, like full on face shot walking through. I'll send you the picture, Alec.
Only real Star Wars fans, Alec, can find Mark Hamill.
Yeah, apparently I'm not a real Star Wars
JJ's over there. If it's Mark Hamill, I'm so cool.
This podcast has been enlightening. I'm not a Marvel fan. I'm not a Star Wars fan. I'm not a movie fan.
Oh man, welcome to my world. No, yeah, it was instant too. I saw him. I was like, oh, that's Mark Hamill. That's awesome.
Good job catching yourself that time, JJ, on the live broadcast.
Me and my potty mouth. It's a hard one for me, but I caught it.
I thought it was a really weighty moment though when the third sister told Obi-Wan that Anakin is alive. Mm-hmm. And I thought back to that scene on how Obi-Wan had left him, and I guess in his mind he would have assumed he was just on fire. He's right next to the lava. He's practically dead. He's going to die. And in episode 3, they make it seem pretty soon after that the Emperor and his royal guards show up to take Anakin. But I guess there must have been enough time where Obi-Wan deuced out and didn't know that they were coming. So I guess it is believable. Not even believable. I could see why he would not have known, and maybe he never allowed, because he kind of, as we know, shut off the Force and put his lightsabers in the middle of the desert, and probably didn't tap into that to even feel if Anakin's presence was there, just because he was so dejected. But seeing that emotional weight on his face when he learned that he's still alive, like, I mean, props to you, McGreg. We haven't really talked about it much, but man, he hit that well, and that moment was pretty impactful.
Yeah.
So I had a problem with this scene, and I'm going to let my inner Star Wars nerd show off, okay? So, JJ, correct me if...
Hang on out. Go back. You broke up there. Go back to correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but the fact that Anakin is Vader is like the best kept secret in the galaxy. Mm-hmm. Like, according to propaganda, Anakin Skywalker was a hero of the Clone Wars, and he was killed by the Jedi, which is why Palpatine went with Order 66 and eradicated the Jedi, right? So how does she know that Anakin Skywalker is Vader? Because I thought it was just a very small select, like Grand Moff Tarkin, and he wasn't told. He figured it out.
Yeah, most people weren't told they figured it out. So here's my theory. It's a great question. And here's my theory. And this is where I go back to, I wish they would have leaned more into Reva and where her passion for Obi-Wan comes from. because my guess is that Reva is in the temple. She was a young early Padawan that she wasn't an apprentice yet, or maybe she was just getting ready to be, and she was in the temple during Order 66 and saw Anakin fighting against being Vader. And they did refer to him a couple times in episode 3 during that attack as Lord Vader. So my theory is she saw him as Vader and was able to put that together. And so to gain favor with Vader, she's trying to hunt down Obi-Wan because she knows at that point that would be what would be driving him. Either that or she has some personal relationship with him, because he does manage, for lack of a better term there, he does manage the Inquisitors. That's his program, is Vader. Vader runs the Inquisitors. So again, it's either that he just has some sort of relationship with her and he's tasked her with specifically going after Obi-Wan. But there was a moment where she said something to the Inquisitor, or to not to the one of the brothers, the other brother that was there, that I can't think, they didn't give his name that I can remember. But when she's having that conversation in the alley and she says something about it, I want my my reward, or my whatever it was that she said, to fifth brother, who is played by Sung Kang, which was awesome. That I was like, oh, look at our tie to Fast and Furious. Anyway, yeah. So that's my theory. And there were a handful of people that knew, but only because they figured it out. Like Thrawn figured it out. Tarkin never knew 100%, at least not in canon that I know of, unless they changed that. But he was, because they wrote a book called Tarkin, but it got put into the Legends piece anyway. But he figured it out at some point. At least he suspected, but he never knew for sure.
So I had a problem with that because Obi-Wan knew Anakin was Vader, right? Because they had that hologram in episode 3. So
Yeah.
her just saying Lord Vader's been waiting to meet you was like, could have triggered it without having to say Anakin. Because
Well, it did. That's what first triggers him. Is she says Lord Vader will be pleased, and his eyes go wide.
Yeah, so
and then
like
she drops Anakin Skywalker.
So it felt like unnecessary to me, because it's like, now I'm asking questions. How does she know? Whereas the trigger, Obi-Wan already knows Anakin is Vader.
Yeah.
So just saying Lord Vader is alive is enough to get the exact same result. And so now I'm questioning, well, how does she know? Because you talked about Thrawn figuring it out, and he's like the biggest brain in the entire universe. And this chick apparently came from the gutters, according to the Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah.
So it was a stretch for me.
I think we'll find out.
Yeah, I'm sure they're dumb if we don't find out. But the other thing, and this will be the last thing, and then we'll just move forward, because I think we've spent a lot of time on these, and I'm looking forward to it. But more episodes. But the other thing I wanted to see more of, and I think they should have leaned more into, is we obviously see that he's cut himself off from the Force, but we don't see that until the moment he's got to save Leia, right? Like he's obviously got a fear of his lightsaber, and I was okay with that. Like I was like, oh yeah, I wouldn't want to hold you killed your best friend with that in his mind, right? Like that's a serious memory of your trauma and things like that. So I don't really want to deal with that. I get that. But I would have loved to have seen, like, even in the conversation with the random plot MacGuffin Jedi that was on Tatooine with him, like him admitting or talking about, I don't use the Force and you shouldn't either. That's one of the ways they find us. But for me, it was like the fact that he had cut himself off from the Force. I wish they would have spent more time in episode 1 and 2 leaning into that and what that means. Because that's a big beef that they have, like with The Last Jedi, is it's very against their character, like Luke's character in a lot of opinions in The Last Jedi. I can make arguments as to why it made sense to me and why I didn't have a problem with that movie from that perspective. But this show to me is the same thing. Like when you think about, and we realize that Obi-Wan went through some shit and he, but also I want to see more of that. Like you cut yourself off from the Force.
Well,
That's a
they
big
could
deal.
have They could have taken 10 minutes of rinse and repeat scenes and showed more of that. And again, I think that's the biggest critique analysis that you've kind of talked about, JJ, that this suffered from. Why? I mean, the more we've talked about it, I'm like, why not? That would have been much more beneficial.
Yeah, agreed.
We don't need to see him slice like monster sand salmon like 3 times. And every time I was like, is what he is doing, isn't that like stealing from the company and shady? And he
That's
does it
what
every
I thought
time.
too.
And I'm like, okay.
Well, and I assumed too, like I thought for a moment, I was like, he's got to be using the Force like as a Jedi mind trick so that people don't see him stealing the piece of salmon for his little horse thing, whatever. But I was just like, so that was my assumption. So I was surprised that he had cut himself off from the Force that way, because I was like, how's he getting away with stealing sand salmon every day? Like,
are they
The
covering
foreman
that?
doesn't get paid enough to say anything.
Are they
Yeah,
covering that
probably.
sand salmon every day when people leave to go onto the thing? I'm like, it's just sitting out there, and then he cleans his knife with the same little rag. I'm like, that's not being washed. Like,
yeah, I was like, it's not a very sanitary workspace. Remind me never to eat sand
but
salmon.
it was just funny to see him in an apron. I feel like there needs to be a Obi-Wan action figure like for barbecuing.
Yeah.
That'd be so
I'd
funny.
Comes with
wear
Anakin
the Obi-Wan
Skywalker on the
apron when
side.
I'm.
I
when
know,
I'm out
Jay.
there grilling.
I'd probably. I mean, I'd love to smoke stuff like if they Disney, like you
Yeah.
got a whole avenue right there.
There's some merch for you. I'm waiting for I'm sure it's out there somewhere, but like the barbecue tools with like lightsaber handles. Yeah, I'd buy it.
Comes with
Anyway,
charred.
The funny
Anakin
thing is,
Skywalker.
JJ
Exactly.
would and will buy it if that's
Oh,
the case.
for sure. No questions asked. I'd buy that in a heartbeat. I don't even eat sushi, but I have lightsaber chopsticks. Because why not?
I've had those before too. I'll have to say,
Yeah.
they're pretty cool.
All right. Well, just take everybody. Let's go around the horn. Take 30 seconds and say your final thoughts and what you're looking forward to for the next
I can go
4
first.
episodes. All right.
I mean, I think we've said it as we've seen a lot of shows previously with Marvel and Star Wars. It's a slow burn at the beginning. Like it's going to be. I'm not anticipating episode 3 being like a hot and heavy hitter. It's probably going to be episodes 4 through 6, and I'm okay with that. I don't love it. I wish there was a shakeup there. I'm pissed that they just teased Vader at the end, but at the same time, I mean, come on, I knew it was gonna be that way, but I still hate it. Like, it would have been cool if they just like bam, Hayden Christensen, Vader, and then like backtrack. Like, why not? Like, dude, it would have been all over Twitter, like, because I would have appreciated a different creative approach in that regard. But besides that, am I happy to be watching Ewan McGregor on screen playing Obi-Wan again? Does he hit the nail on the head with his character? Absolutely. That fact alone, go watch. But it is a slow burn. Be prepared for the plot to build slowly. I don't love the third sister, but I'm hoping we get some more backstory and her blatant rage makes more sense later on. It's not perfect. It's not bad. I would say it's good, and I'm happy just to have Star Wars. I want it to be successful so we can get more of this, and that's really kind of where I sit.
Fair enough. Alec.
Yeah, so I liked it. I do have some problems with it, but that's just, I think me. I did not like the free running parkour in place of the standing 20-foot Jedi jumps. That felt just trying to, put a round peg in a square hole or whatever it is. And then I want more of, what's the guy's name? Kumali Nanjiani?
Yeah, Kumail Nanjiani.
Yeah, I want more of him. I
dope.
hope he comes back as just this shady, half Jedi with magnets and remotes, because
I will give you hope. He's in 5 episodes.
Sweet.
Yep.
Yeah, we didn't talk about him. I did like him. He was great.
Yeah,
That was great. And I hope there's just some more of this, like, underground people posing as Jedis, and he's part of a club or something, because that was fantastic.
Yeah.
So overall, I enjoyed it. And I do hope we get that backstory with the third sister to maybe clear up some of the issues I had with the first 2 episodes. But definitely going to keep watching it. Like, I loved it.
Yeah. Same here. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It had its issues. It wasn't perfect. I think I'm with you, Matt. I think some creative decisions could have been made to improve the overall I think they literally banked on this is Obi-Wan. Everybody's going to watch. We can kind of be lazy. And I'm hoping that they get past that. I started to feel pretty good about, especially near the end of the second episode. I even started to be okay with Third Sister. That vicious, poisonous tone she had just laying into Obi-Wan about Vader. Like I was really like impressed with that. So I started to come around a little bit more. I'm interested to see what they do with the Grand Inquisitor because they've already confirmed that's the same dude from Rebels, and so
he died in that show, right?
Yeah, he dies in Rebels. He's not dead in this show because Rebels is still like 4 years off from where they're at, 5 years off from where they're at in the timeline.
Wait, so he's not dead?
Because he dies in a duel with Kanan Jarrus.
So wait, she didn't kill him?
No, unless they're retconning Rebels,
which would dumb.
But he looked like
stupid.
She stabbed him in the middle of his gut with a lightsaber.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they could probably keep him alive because they have crazy medical tech, but it sure looked like he died. But he wasn't cut in half and didn't fall down a pit, so you never know.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, villains have come back from worse in Star Wars, so we'll see. There's no way he's dead because, like I said, they have confirmed this is the same guy from Rebels, and he doesn't die until the end of the first season or end of second season of Rebels. So
definitely coming after Third Sister then.
Yeah, he's having a bad day, and I'm sure we'll see Vader have to save her from him at some point. If I had to guess, that's my theory because he's gonna be pissed anyway. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm with you, Alec. I'm excited that Kumail Nanjiani's in so much more of it. I think it's fun to watch this slimy guy that's helping and not helping at the same time, but to see more of him should be exciting. So I'm looking forward to it. I like where they're going with it. I wish they'd have gotten there a little different, but I'm excited. Cannot wait to see Vader and Anakin, and I hope there's some flashbacks. I hope there's. I mean, obviously, it was really exciting to see all that makeup and him in the back to tank. I'm tickled. I can't wait. So
there it was. Tickled.
Got to get my catchphrase.
Can you post this picture to social media, JJ? Because there is no way anybody else saw this with Mark Hamill.
You should take it and do a TikTok about it and see and I'll throw you some cash and you like post it, do whatever it is to get it out in the ether, and we'll see what the internets have to say on whether they caught it or not.
Little tiny picture way in the background. Oh yeah, that's Mark Hamill.
Dude, I caught it instantly too,
and I'm not even tell what color robe he was wearing.
I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. It was as soon as he walked on screen, I was like, oh, that's Mark Hamill. And then just so you know, he walks across the screen at least 2 more times.
Bro.
Yeah, I know. I have a problem. Mattson can tell you, or you can go back and listen to our Westworld episodes.
Gosh,
I have a problem. It's a problem. So, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. We'll do this one's a little longer than the rest will be because it's 2 episodes, but we'll be doing lives for the rest of the episodes, singularly doing those, and tune in soon when you'll be able to see what we're doing for month of June and all the craziness that will be ensuing over the next month and a half. So,
indeed.
Yeah, Mattson, tell them where they can find us if they're not watching us live. Talking about Obi-Wan in the future.
Live, come check us out on what'sourverdict.com. See what's upcoming. But you can just search What's Our Verdict to listen to us. We also have What's Our Verdict TV. Some of our past TV shows. We are going to be combining those just to What's Our Verdict Media. So that will change shortly. So search right now either What's Our Verdict or What's Our Verdict TV. Again, we'll be combining What's Our Verdict Media here shortly, but do that wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, I mean, whatever it is, you'll find us. And come check us out on social media, like TikTok especially, got some good stuff up in there with Alec, and come chime in on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook as well.
Definitely. Thanks, Mattson. I'm sorry. I have a problem, Alec. I have a problem. All right, well, we appreciate you tuning in. We've seen a couple guys coming in. Ian, thanks for the like. We appreciate that. As always, thanks for tuning in and listening to us. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Cinemagic out.
Whoa!